all of the audio. Like, you should probably open the stream and look. Yeah, we're live, by the way. We're gonna figure it out. We're gonna hope that all the audio is working. Hello.
Woo!
I don't know
Hi,
if
everybody. It's Cryptic Puzzle, the show where normally we talk about a specific game, which we're kind of going to do today.
I guess like this is all of this is off the cuff. None of this was planned. we had a plan and we completely changed the plan at the last possible second. Like, what if we did something different? And by we, I mean like I think it was mostly me.
Here's the funny thing, though. By the way, it says Undertale Cryptic Puzzle Episode 10.
I changed it. Oh my god! All right, hang on. I should still be able to change it.
So that's fine. Well, there it is. It's fixed.
There we go. Perfect. All right. The Sonic sound's probably not working because I'm on 3 other monitors trying to make sure other things aren't breaking.
So today we were gonna talk about a game called Mouthwashing, which we will probably briefly talk about it, but we kind of decided against it for today because it just felt a little too depressing and heavy, even though it's a great game.
Yeah, it's incredible, and I recommend that you go and play it because it is also a game that I think for certain is the less you know about it, the better kind of thing. So it would really be more of a discussion for people who were already kind of familiar with it and what happens in the game already, because it's remarkable. It's the coolest psychological horror thing since Silent Hill 2 in my head. So
yeah, I mean, we'll say this: it'll probably be our next episode, which we'll probably talk about it like a little bit more in depth. But if you know nothing about it, but you're interested even a little bit in like indie games or horror games, it's worth checking out because it's kind of just one of those indie games that like blew everyone's expectations out of the water in 2024, and it rules.
Yeah. All right, Andy. So the stream should now have Sonic sounds as well, and everything should be working, and you should hear yourself, which will be disorienting.
Well, you want me to check?
Yeah,
Twitch?
can you check one more time, just because I think we're finally at a point where I can hit the button and we can see where this goes.
All right, we're ready to go live. Go ahead and hit the go live button.
Andy. Yeah.
What's the problem?
Welcome to Cryptic Puzzle. And yeah.
So we're gonna talk. Let's talk first about me becoming an Elden Ring sicko, maybe, which has been
I might have. Did I ruin your life? Like, I might have. You know,
it's possible. So okay, let's start this off with. We did talk about Elden Ring in the past, and I have quite a mixed just like experience with Elden Ring. Like, I kind of love it, but I also feel like I kind of have a love-hate relationship with it. But recently, so I never played Shadow of the Erdtree like a dingus because I was just like, I don't know, like I liked Elden Ring, but it was too hard, and everyone said the DLC's hard or whatever. But so Tommy was like, well, you got like a special collector's edition or something, right?
Yeah, so I saw the collector's edition went on sale around the holidays. So it cost it was literally like 50% off or something like that. So this like $200 something thing I got for like over $100. So yeah, no, I do all right. So I was like, you know what? Elden Ring is like literally my favorite thing ever. I think this is probably worth spending the money on. So I did it. But I bought a PlayStation version because Andy played Elden Ring originally on PlayStation. So that he could have his code because I already owned Shadow of the Erdtree and I had no use for an extra code anyways. So
and for months you had been like, you should play Shadow of the Erdtree.
Yeah, I'm like, you'll dig it. I'm like, it's all the very specific things that you liked the most about Elden Ring that are not the combat part are even more in Shadow of the Erdtree, I promise. And you were like, no, I don't think so. I'm like, yeah, no, I took time off work I did it. I did all the pre-nerf bosses too on New Game Plus like 3 or whatever I was on. So I'm like, no, if I can do it, you can do it. And then you were like, no, and then you played it and you were like, yeah.
I did. I will say this. I mean, I did like it. I don't know if I I don't know if I liked it more than the base game, to be honest, or I just kind of I just liked it. Like, I think the art direction of the
Oops.
world is like absolutely unbelievable.
Oh yeah, certainly.
Like that's like the standout for me. I think other than that, I still kind of like had some problems with the DLC, but like I had a lot of fun playing it because like why not? I think probably the coolest thing is all of the new weapons, to be honest with you.
Oh yeah, I mean, obviously a million things that you could talk about. That is cool about the new DLC. Yeah, I'm with you on like. I obviously am a big combat guy, which I think it's very funny that out of all the things that I expected you to say about that, it never would have been. You're like, yeah, the weapons, the combat, the thing that you're always like, I think I hate it.
Well, I think I like I do think I hate it, but I think I like the new
Dang it.
weapons because the new weapons are so cool and they're so varied, but they're also so powerful that to me anyway, like every time I tried a new weapon, I was like, oh, I feel like this made the game a lot easier in a way that I wish it would because all the weapons are so awesome.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they definitely juice numbers wise. I made you open your eyes to the power of power stance great hammers, which I'm like, yeah, it's just like if you're ever worried about a problem, just try that. It'll work.
Yeah.
And the answer, or as you found out, that was true. Yeah,
Yep.
you didn't even use like all the new cool ones, like the light greatsword and stuff like that. That's like my favorite moveset aside from like the Bloodborne trick weapons. Which, oh, you know what? Here's a tangential From Software thought, because I've already told you I've been replaying Bloodborne myself. Just sometimes on the side.
Yep.
I may or may not be playing it at a frame rate above the original one.
Super legal. It's
Yeah,
way
I mean
legal.
it is legal. That was already they already lost that court battle in like the 90s, and Nintendo just lost that one recently too. Um,
Yeah.
but but yeah, and that game still incredible. I still think that you should give it a try. I wish that you could play it at not a poopy frame rate, because yeah, I did try and go back to it because I still have my console PlayStation copy just therein installed, and I even tried to do like, oh well, maybe I could stream it through this streaming software that I can use to like stream it to my phone or something, but do it to my computer and then use lossless scaling to upscale it so it looks a little bit better, and maybe smooth out the stuff with like the frame generation, and all that looked like crap too because the source stuff was all kind of poopy. I'm like, none of that was worth it. So, one day other technology got
Yeah.
better, and now it seems stable enough to do that. Plus, I have a reasonably fancy PC at this point. So
I mean, it's possible I might try it someday if it's on sale for like
I'm
$10.
I'm pretty sure the old hunters, like the DLC at least, which I assume means like the like complete edition, is on sale literally right now. You should look. You should open
All
up a
right, I'll
browser page and look right on the podcast live, or I get to bully Andy into playing more From Software games.
I will, but all right, let me finish my story about me becoming a sicko.
Yeah,
So,
you disgusting sicko. Who could have
so
enabled this?
while while I was playing the DLC, okay? So last year I got myself a Steam Deck, which is great because me and Tommy share a Steam library. So very often I'm like, "Oh, there's a game that Tommy owns. I can play it." And around the same time, I don't know why, but I was just looking for something to play on the Steam Deck. And out of curiosity, I was like, well, I mean, I gotta try Elden Ring once on the Steam Deck to see how it runs, if only for the technical marvel that I can even do that. Like, I just have to see it. And while I was playing the DLC, I simultaneously just kind of fell into playing a brand new file on the Steam Deck. So simultaneously was running the DLC run of the game and a completely fresh new game like at the same time. And it just I just like I was like, well, I guess my life is over now. And then beat the DLC and hit New Game Plus on the DLC run on my PlayStation while I was playing the Steam Deck one, and kind of just played them side by side for a long time. And I'm still playing the Steam Deck file, and I'm just like, I don't know what happened to my life.
You need to get help, dude.
Like, and again,
You
like,
saw how many hours I
consi-
have in the game. You should listen to me.
I I continue to I continue to like shock myself because I'm someone that, like, if you asked me if you should play Elden Ring, I'd be like, nah, you shouldn't. I'm pretty sure I hate it. And like, obviously I don't hate it. But,
Yeah,
like,
you just keep saying this clearly untrue thing. Like, we all know that you don't believe that.
yeah, like, but I don't know. Like, I think my biggest takeaway in all of that is, I think for me in particular, playing Elden Ring the second time through, and I guess now the third time through, like an insane person, um, I guess I'm one of the weirdos that really enjoys those multiple playthroughs more, because the game was so hard my first time through that it was basically like playing a horror game, and I was just like terrified anytime I discovered a new location or like a legacy dungeon or something. And playing it subsequent times through is just like really comforting because I get to enjoy like the vibe of the world and like all of the cool locations. I think the way that everyone else enjoyed it the first time through, but the first time through I didn't get to enjoy like the vibe of the world at all because I was just constantly afraid.
Well, speaking of, I guess, experiences that I guess you can't like really truly recapture, like the after you do it the first time, you know, a lot of people treat Elden Ring that way, and like I can definitely see why with what's in it and kind of like some of the surprises and big moments that come just from like really organic exploration in the game. But like at the same time, like you're like, yeah, I felt that on the second time, not on the first time, because I was too distracted by all the other stuff. So did you basically get your first experience through on the second play? Is that like how that ended up playing out? Dang it.
I think
I'm bad at this
I
game.
think yeah, you're not doing great. I gotta be honest with you. um, I don't know if I would say like I got the first, but I think I enjoyed. I think when everyone talks about their first time through Elden Ring, I think I enjoyed my second time through as much as most people enjoyed the first time through. Because, like, the first time through was just such an up and down experience. Like, there were many, many times when I just got super frustrated and I was like, I'm done with this game forever. And the second time through, I kind of just, once I got past Glowy Hammer Magoo, I just kind of kept going and I didn't stop. And I didn't really feel those levels of frustration like I did the first time.
Gotcha. Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
that'll make sense. Yeah, obviously my experience with the game was different because I played so many hundreds of hours of the other games before that, so it was like, okay, we got Dark Souls, but there's some new stuff. Okay, got it. I can learn that. But yeah, you were basically entering it like having touched Dark Souls and Dark Souls 3 in the past, but not like in a way where you're like, yeah, I feel confident in the combat systems and what these are. You were kind of like, yeah, I guess this isn't for me right now, you know?
And I think the other part too that, like, I don't know how many people are like me in this regard. Maybe people will relate, but like the first time I played Elden Ring, like, take any boss, but let's take Glowy Hammer Magoo specifically because I hated him. But like, it really, with any boss in the game, when I was fighting it for the first time, there was like a genuine question of like, will I ever accomplish this, or is this the end of the game for me? And that was like just about every big challenging boss. There was this pressure of like, this might be too hard for me and I might have to quit right now. But the second time through, it was like, well, I actually know that it's not impossible for me to beat any of these bosses. I've done it once. So even if I get too frustrated and quit, there's no pressure of like, am I capable of doing this? Because like, I know that I am capable of doing it because I did it once, if that makes sense.
Yeah, here's the thing. I think this is the first time that you have said something that's made you suddenly turning a corner on these games makes sense to me, because that's the first time that I feel like the whole actual like intent of you are going to struggle against this difficult thing and you will eventually succeed. Because like the first time you didn't ever feel like you could succeed, so there was no payoff. Like I think that's why you were always like, yeah, it felt bad no matter what, like even when I did it, because you just didn't think you could. But like I know you still sort of struggled with that even like as you're playing now. At least that's how I thought you felt about the game. But you understand at least some aspect of that, and I think that completely turned the game around for you. You know, because that is the intent of the game.
Yeah, in a way. I still think like sometimes I do beat a boss after fighting it way too many times, and I still am like, this doesn't feel great, and it still feels like that boss was too difficult for me personally. Like I don't know. I continue to like the other thing I've thought about a lot in the DLC with a lot of difficult bosses is like, so another reason, like you've always said too, you're like, well, I don't understand. Like you feel like it's like you might have to fight the boss 30 times, but every time you fail, you have like learned a little bit more about the boss, and like you're on the path to beating it. But like, I think for me, like the thing that makes that tougher for me is like it doesn't feel that way because my progress doesn't feel like linear. Like sometimes I'm fighting like who's Fireboy? Mesmer?
Oh, in the DLC, yeah, Mesmer.
Yeah, so like take Mesmer, right? Like I might, let's say I fought him 10 times and I'm like, cool, I feel like I know how to dodge this attack and this attack, and I feel like I'm making improvements. And then the next run I go in, I do 0 damage to him and he kills me in 3 swipes. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't actually feel like I made any linear progress, because after 10 times of going through and feel like I'm moving forward, the 11th time, I get completely bodied. And that's where, like, it becomes, like, a sign that the game is too difficult for me personally. You know?
I see. I guess it's... So I guess this is, to me, just like a fundamental change in the... Oh, I die even with rings. Got it. I wasn't putting that together. I'm not reading any of the things. I'm just attempting to do whatever I assume based on the UI. So the I guess to me the fundamental difference is like I just don't think that progress in almost anything like really is linear. Like there's measurable things, scientific ways to do stuff, but like I don't think in learning anything that anyone ever learns linearly. And progress in this game is both numerical in the stats and knowledge based, right? So, but because the knowledge based piece is there, it's never actually going to be linear. And humans are imperfect, you know, like you can know and just like, oh, this time my hands didn't do what they had to do, even though I knew the right thing to do. Like that also just happens, you know? So I don't know. I think it's a combination of a few things. And
yeah, I guess I compare that to a game that I think of as being difficult but fair, is like Shovel Knight or Death's Door or something like that, where like I go in and every time I do a little bit more damage to the boss, or at least the same amount of damage I did before, and I improve along the way. Whereas like sometimes it makes it harder to feel like you're improving when you go in and you're like, oh, I know how to dodge these 3 attacks, and you get bodied anyway because you just mess it up.
yeah,
You know?
yeah, it's true. I guess it's also the difference between like part of it is presentation wise too. Like it would be cool in some way functionally if every game had a way to retry the thing that you just failed at as quickly as Super Meat Boy. Right, like literally almost instantaneous, you're back at the beginning, here you go, try again, put you there. But like that's just not what these games are, and they notoriously previously had like really long boss runs a lot of the time. So like even the opportunity to get back to trying again used to be much more difficult. So I also have the context of like, well, that's how these games used to be, and Elden Ring is very much not that. Like you pretty much will always get a grace outside of a boss door. Oops.
Yeah. By the by the way, not to go on a random tangent, but I think it's like really funny the thought of someone turning on the stream right now and being like, are they talking about Sonic? Sonic? I don't
Yeah,
think
yeah,
this
yeah,
game.
yeah.
We are not talking about Sonic.
Yeah, I just
If you
happened to be
tuned in.
doing this while we're chatting about kind of whatever because we were like, yo, our original topic, way too much of a bummer. Not doing it. Not feeling it today. We're just gonna do something else. And I was like, well, I could just boot up Sonic because I've been playing that, and that'll stream easy probably. And it
Yeah.
doesn't take too much brain power for me to be able to do this and talk at the same time. Compared to like if I was gonna pull up Elden Ring or something again, you were like, do that, and I'm like, I will just need to like brain off, otherwise I'm just gonna run face first into enemies and die like 100 times on stream.
Yeah.
Which would
The
be
other thing, too-
embarrassing.
Yeah. The other thing too about it is like clearly I have gotten better at Elden Ring because like with the exception of like this run I'm doing on the Steam Deck, I had a good bit more difficulty with Rykard, and I'm not sure why. But with the exception of him, like take golds free. Like I walked in and I got golds free first try and I just bodied him. So clearly I am getting better at these games, but I guess I don't feel like I am, and I don't know what I'm doing better, which is like why it's also more confusing.
I still don't know that I understand that specific phenomenon with you, because like it is very clear that there's like measurable, like incredible progress like in your ability. Like again, you beat the DLC, the one that people complained was like really hard. Remember that? People like really like, I don't understand. And you were like, yeah, I don't know, it doesn't. Yeah, like
I think the thing I really feel like I understand more fundamentally is just that like doing a few jumping R2s is gonna stagger the boss. That's like the one biggest takeaway I could like measurably write out and tell somebody is like, do some jumping R2s with a heavy attack and you're more likely to stagger the boss. And like that I feel like is very measurable and like literal. But other than that, I'm like, I don't think I understand anything else.
I do think it's very funny that you and I ended up landing on the same like preferred way of playing, which is like full on Unga Bunga. Dang it, just ruined it. Yeah, it just like, hey, what if you just staggered the crap out of the boss?
Well, I just feel like that's so much. I feel like it's a safer way to play, and you're gonna get more damage out as opposed to like trying to hit him a bunch with some R1s. Like I've just. And I feel like there was actually a specific video I may have watched at some point too from like IGN or something, like talking about Margit, where they were like, the thing Elden Ring wants you to do is do more R2s, because R2s relative to R1s don't do twice as much. They do like a lot more than that, especially in terms of stagger. And maybe I came across that, maybe I heard it somewhere, but like that is again like a very specific takeaway I have, but other than that, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I just always think that stagger mechanics in games are fun, and that's kind of been a somewhat popular thing in recent years. Like a lot of the Final Fantasy games, like all the way now since 13, which those games were like PS3 360 area, so it's been like, you know, almost 20 years now, I guess. So I'm saying
By the
recently.
way, your Gmail notifications are showing up on the stream.
Oh, are they? Great. Perfect. That's
Shoot us an email if you want to give us
That's what I
feedback.
wanted. Oh, it came from Perry Ellis, so you guys know that I have previously ordered clothes from Perry Ellis before. So
I don't even know what that is.
yeah, that's a clothing brand. Hashtag not sponsored in any way, shape, or form.
So I'm sorry I interrupted your thought. I just wanted you to know.
No, I'm gonna go fix that. So you're gonna have to pick up the conversation here, bud.
Oh. So yeah, we're talking about how hard Sonic CD is.
Oh yeah. Well, these are just all these specific mission thingies that I was gonna get through. Okay, those should be off now. There
Yeah,
we go.
so I guess I don't know. I've become an Elden Ring sicko, and I haven't been playing it like, it's not like I play Elden Ring like hours and hours a day, but like now if I do want to play a game, I pretty frequently will pick it up and play for an hour, and I'm kind of just like, it's really comforting for me. Right now I'm in I'm in the sewers below Altus, and it's just like cool because I'm like, I know all the paths in Altus, I know all the little secret ways, and I kind of just, it's kind of like taking a bite out of a giant cookie. Like I just take a little bite when I play, and I get a little bit further through the game, and I'm just enjoying the vibes and punching dudes.
You know what's interesting is the way that you're playing Elden Ring is the way that like I'm going kind of play Night Rain, because I've played so much Elden Ring as it is that like when we were like, oh, let's do a Shadow of the Erdtree episode, and I was like, yeah, let's do Shadow of the Erdtree episode, and then I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to play so much video game just to have that fresh in my mind again, and to now have played it post all the patching, that it was like, that's really daunting. Whereas Night Rain is going to be like, all right, in and out. If I just want to do one run for like 40 minutes, like that's it. And then I'm done. And that's like how you're playing just Elden Ring, which I think is very funny.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it like weirdly has become like one of my comfort games, and like I also think part of it too is again like the weapons. Like I'm kind of enjoying now, like so now I'm playing with the big ghosty boy sword, which I think a long time ago you were like, the ghosty boy sword really rules.
Big ghosty boy sword. You're gonna have
it's
to
like
be a little bit more
colossal-
specific than that.
It's the ghosty boy, his sword.
Okay. Which ghosty boy?
The one that's at the bottom of the great tower in Caelid. He's one of the two ghosty boys at the very end of the game. And he's got like a colossal.
You're talking about
like
the god skin guy?
Yeah, his
Oh,
sword.
you took are you the Godslayer greatsword, the spirally one?
Yes, and it's like a colossal weapon, but it's
Yeah.
also like a great sword.
Yeah, and it's got the unique moveset that only one weapon in the DLC finally put on one that you can put regular buffs and regular smithing stones into instead of sombers. Yes, that guy. It's one of my favorites. Very good.
Yeah, I like it because again, it's a real big stagger sword, and the L2, the special that it has does like an insane amount of damage. So if you stagger just about any boss and then hit them with two of like the L2 magic attack, you're gonna wipe like 75. It's like insane amounts of damage. So
Yeah.
again, like I'm enjoying the discovery factor of like playing with new weapons, like especially in the DLC. Like I think that's why I was excited to play a New Game Plus, because I was like, let me do a two-handed great katana thing, because I didn't get to touch the great katanas at all in the DLC because I was doing double hammers.
Oh yeah, and the great katanas they're so cool, and they have that unique backstep attack that only those have. Yeah, they're really cool.
Yeah, so that's like another comfort part of it, I think, is because I just am like having fun trying out new weapons, while also knowing not how to get murdered by every corridor.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Elden Ring is a great game, as it turns out.
it is. And every person I talk to, by the way, that I'm like, yeah, I finally got around to Shadow of the Erdtree, they like slap me across the face, and they're like, what's wrong with you that it took you this long?
Yeah, it's a good thing that you don't live closer, otherwise I would have driven to your house and beaten you up sooner.
Well,
And you would have deserved it, and you know it.
Yes, and thank you for getting it for me, because I probably would not have played it if you weren't like... Well, actually, I might have. I was kind of thinking about buying it anyway. Yeah, and I think that's another weird part of it too, is I'm typically really eager to like try out a lot of new games, especially now that I have a Steam Deck and there's like lots of cheap games and stuff, but I'm just in a zone right now where there isn't anything new that's like appealing to me, so I'm kind of just replaying stuff and enjoying the comfort of that, which is pretty rare for me.
Yeah, and I've mentioned to you at least offhand that I've been playing through Final Fantasy VII Rebirth now that it came out on Steam, because I got it not long after it came out on PlayStation, and then got distracted by other stuff because I was still working through another backlog. I probably should have just never bought it. And then they fixed up the Steam version real nice, and it's very pretty, and I have my fancy computer. And that game is tickling like every like way that you can tickle like nostalgia, just from the rearrangement of the music in that game alone is so good. And it's very goofy and silly and filled with lots of little side quests and tons of little mini games, like in the original game. And yeah, and it's basically just kind of been like a fun romp with your favorite Final Fantasy VII characters. And not a whole lot of story has happened, and quite frankly, I don't really care about that part right now, just because all the other stuff is so like, yeah, that's just great.
Yeah.
It just feels nice to do. So that's been my comfort thing recently. And then also like, this was part of why I pulled this up. I didn't know the mission mode was a real thing until like a day or two ago. So
Yeah.
I'm doing these now.
Yeah, and I love the vibe of Sonic CD. I love this game, so I'm kind of just enjoying watching you play it. To be honest, it's
dude.
neat.
Sonic CD, probably the best one. It's like neck and neck with Sonic 3 and Knuckles in my
I
head.
prefer Sonic 3 and Knuckles myself, if only because like I like the past and future mechanics, but I feel like as a casual player of this game and someone who hasn't like studied it, I never really understood the purpose of them and like why you would even want to do them in the first place. I just feel like it's not really that well telegraphed to casual players, the whole time travel thing.
All right, cool. You know what, Andy? You just found a great topic for us to talk about in this ad hoc, whatever the heck we're doing. So I'm one of the few people who actually had a Sega CD growing up. So I played Sonic CD like since I was a kid. So the time travel mechanic. So it obviously it's more than just changing the aesthetic and the music. What is actually happening is it's changing some parts of the level layout that you can and can't get to, and it's changing the enemy layout as well. And so when you're playing in the base game, if you go to the past and the future, there's also specific like generators for the enemies that Robotnik has placed there. And the way to get a quote unquote good future is to, in those levels, go to the past and future and destroy those things placed at various points in the level. And you can basically force the good future to always happen, even if you don't do those. If you do the, because they're not Chaos Emeralds in this one, they're Time Stones. So if you get all of those, you just get that good future by default when you go to the future, which clears all the enemies in the level.
So
there's actual like mechanics behind all of it.
Yeah, I actually knew that too, but like when I have played the game, I have never felt like that has been super well conveyed to me. Like sometimes I'm like, oh, do I want to go to the past first and then the future, or like sometimes I'm like, I see this sign but I can't get it to activate, or I can't get to it. Like, so I knew all of that, but I felt like in playing it, it's always been a little too confusing for me.
Oh yeah, I don't think that the game like conveys it like super clearly at all, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And the main, why did it go away?
It did. Oh, that's weird.
That was lame, right? That I was like, I did it. It's over.
Lame.
Darn it.
But it's certainly a neat mechanic. But like, I think I like Sonic CD, but that aspect of it, which I feel like is one of the main aspects, has always been like a little lame to me personally.
Yeah, it's interesting because like for me, I've always loved it, and I never thought it was obscure, but you're correct that it's not really conveyed like in the game. But this was also from an era of like, oh yeah, I had a game with a manual that would tell me all of these things. That just just doesn't exist anymore. Like even games that like make manuals because they'll make them in the style of like throwback things from the 90s. Like there are no like modern game manuals. There are only modern facsimiles of old game manuals.
I've always, and this is, now we're getting tangenty a little bit, but like I feel like one of the things that's been like fascinating to me recently, that I feel like there may be a great YouTube channel about this already, but I thought it would make a great YouTube channel, is like exploring the like very weird, specific nostalgic things that we had in like the early gaming industry. And one of those things that like, if you're a kid now, you'll never understand, is like getting a game at GameStop or Electronic Boutique Games.
Oh
and
God.
you're
They
in
used to be
you're
different
in
companies. I don't know if you knew that.
yeah, I did, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
But so like you're 10 and you're on the way home and you just got this game, and so in the back of the car you would read the game manual before you played it because you were so excited to play it, and that is
Yeah.
just not a thing you will ever experience anymore.
Nope.
It's gone.
Nope. They don't want you to have a physical library. They want you to have the digital library with them because then it means you're going to stay with them.
And even even in the case of electronic games, it's like I feel like now there's this understanding that games are really well designed in a way to like tutorialize the players, and like there was an understanding, like you said in the day, that you would probably read the manual of Sonic CD before you played it and they would explain that information there,
Yep.
and that doesn't
If I
I mean, I
went
kinda
into
get
the
why
other
that's
room right now, I'm pretty sure I could get my Sonic CD case. Oh,
yeah,
actually, you know
like
what? No, that particular one is still at my parents' house, as I discovered last time I was there. Because when we thought we got all the Sega stuff, we did not. So they have more that I will be collecting on one of my next trips home. So yeah.
So it's just, I don't know, it's cool. It's like one of those weird things that you won't get anymore if you grew up after that era. But it was such a neat, specific thing that like we all enjoyed as kids. It's cool.
Different time. Yeah, can you see me being a perfectionist and like requiring that I get the S rank on this?
Yeah, is that's like the mission, right? Is you're trying to get the future and the past warps?
Yep. Yeah, but because you have to actually get to the past, and me getting a past one while I'm in the future doesn't count because that's just taking me to the present. So I actually have to do it more than twice.
Oh, you do, and you have to do it in under 50 seconds.
Yeah, and the first time I got a C, which I was not happy with.
Yeah.
Oh man,
So-
I almost swore. Trying to keep it clean here, folks.
No, it's a family-friendly stream.
I know. Well, it is for you, maybe.
Yeah, it is, and for you, because we're both on the. So we were going to talk about AI and how our world is crumbling apart. Tommy, why
Oh
don't
no, you
take
know
it
what?
away?
Maybe let's not. Other than that
Maybe let's
stupid
not?
Microsoft
Okay.
thing, because that's tangentially related to video games. That will be emblematic of all of my feelings on AI. I guess I'll just start it with that. Like, so what was it called? I think it was called Muse.
Yeah, I think it was called Muse.
And I'm still not entirely sure if I understand what the proposal was because of how dumb this is. But so they worked with Ninja Theory. I don't think I mixed them up with Team Ninja this time. I believe it was actually Ninja Theory. And their game from the 2020s that I didn't remember the name of. And so they would feed it gameplay footage. Oh my god, it happened again. I don't understand. Yeah, you saw it disappear again, right? Just for no reason
Yeah.
while I was...
Is there like a specific reason you can't trigger it that way?
I don't know. Oh, and I ruined it. Anyway.
Dang.
Anyway, about the stupid AI thing again. I can't remember the name of the game. Honestly, the whole thing is so silly that I'm not going to get too into the details. But they would feed it like a second of gameplay and then have this AI generate footage of what it thought like the next like 12 seconds of gameplay would be after feeding it like 1 second of footage and like multiple seconds of theoretical inputs, and then showing this like terrible like, I don't know, did you watch any of the actual like clips from it?
No,
Andy?
I just saw some coverage after the fact.
Like there's been AI clips of random various things for a while, and the technology has improved rather substantially, sort of quickly, but you can still tell it's like an AI thing. This looks like stuff from like a couple years ago, kind of like it wasn't even good. Like it looked awful, and it was like, okay, so what is this for? And they kept using the phrase gameplay ideation. Like, okay, so you've already built a video game and what the inputs are supposed to do, and you have to feed it a little bit of gameplay footage, and then it'll just make a level idea in video form in front of you. Is that the idea? Like, who is this for? Who, like, what is... This is why technology cannot be driven by people who just are disconnected from reality. and who do not understand like what actually having a functional piece of software is, rather than just responding to a buzzword, because that's all this AI nonsense is. It's crazy,
Yeah.
man. It's
And
crazy.
I'll be, and you and I are, you're actually one of the only other people I know that it shares the same view as me, which is that this AI garbage that we hear about all the time is not actually going to change the world. It's going to be like a passing fad that like affects maybe a few industries in a big way, but like most of it is just going to turn out to be like useless garbage in a couple years. That's my personal view.
Well, yeah, it's being used to. This is where again I don't want to get too heavy into the socio-political things, but it's being used to prop up a bunch of rich people's ideas and keep the rich rich. That's all it is. Is please give me money to fund buzzword thing, because you will keep giving me money as long as I keep saying this thing's going to change the world. It's not about it actually changing the world. It's about they keep duping these exact same people somehow over and over again, and so long as they keep duping them, they're not going to stop. That's it. Like
Yeah,
that's
because
the difference.
yes, because
So-
because and you're right, it has improved, right? And like as long as it continues to improve in some visible way, they're like, look, it's improving, so it's gonna change everything. And it's like it's really not gonna change everything.
No, and so this is, and I don't even want to say this as devil's advocate. There are actual uses for AI stuff. I will also say, like, if I were to be, oh no, stole
You
the
shoulda hit
thought right out of
scrolling.
my head.
Shoulda hit the scrolling.
So while I do also think that there's probably other nefarious things happening in the background with the amount of money that NVIDIA is making off of AI things, and the amount of GPUs that they have sold to places like Microsoft to build their data centers for their AI projects. But DLSS as a technology is there so that like AI upsampling thing that they're using. So basically it's rendering your PC games and stuff at an internal resolution much lower than the one that it's actually displaying at, because it's using AI upscaling that is actually quite good to make it so that my games will run much better while also still looking really good. Some of that stuff is black magic, like of like how good it looks. And there's been cases where you can literally be like, well, what if we did the DLSS upscaling on like this older thing? And they're like, oh, that actually, if you upscale it, it looks better than running the game natively with other hardware, which is like
and that's all
bonkers,
all well and good.
you know? Yeah.
But that's not generative AI. That's like
Oh no, so actually
generative AI.
that stuff is specifically generative AI. All the other stuff is the large language model stuff. Where that people are like, oh, the magic plagiarism word machine. That's a different thing. But yeah.
But upscaling a resolution, how is that like generating? How is that? I mean, like technically it's generative.
Yeah, so part of the DLSS I guess family of technologies. So the other one is literally called frame generation. So that is where, hey, if I have my game running at 60 frames per second, it's basically a really, really, really fancy frame interpolation technology that uses the AI, generative AI, to make those frames. It also creates input delay and everything too, but that is how, like, in theory, you can have a game that you can only run at 60 frames per second stably. You'd be like, oh, well, if I have this graphics card, I can actually have this now running at 120 frames per second on my fancy TV. Which, you know, it has its drawbacks. Whoa, I didn't know that this was part of the level here.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And that's all well and good. That feels like philosophically different though than Microsoft saying, "Hey, we're going to use generative AI to see if we can make games cheaper so that we can fire artists and do it all at a lower cost."
Yeah, one of them is a product, and one of them is a concept with which to extract more capital from investors.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so
yeah,
it's definitely like disheartening, and I don't know. I guess my potentially optimistic read is I feel like in a couple years you'll have Nintendo who will hopefully continue to like because they've openly said like we are not interested in using generative AI in a way to make our games. And so hopefully like in a couple years when all of these battles have been fought, it's like we'll see that like all that generative AI stuff that Microsoft is trying to do is just creating garbage that no one's interested in. I feel
I hope that you're right. I am much less optimistic about how it's all going to play out. It will collapse eventually. I just think it's going to collapse a lot more violently than a lot of people realize. It's not going to be great. And that's part of why I didn't want to get too far into it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I guess for me, like, because I'm a teacher, like, I live in a world that is like pretty immune to AI, at least in like terms of like the reality. Like the reality of my profession and my day to day is that like you need human people working with other human people. That's like the most effective way to teach people and like uh, have positive classrooms and a positive world for like people. And like I just don't think there's ever a world where an AI is going to be able to teach trumpet better than I can, which is reassuring just in terms of my own life. But like, I think that's why like I think there's like this pie in the sky world where they're like, we're gonna replace everything and everyone, and it's like, yeah, but you're never gonna replace me, like in terms of my actual skill set, you know?
Yeah, I guess the part where I'm less optimistic than you, because I agree with everything that you just said in terms of like actual like how the technology will actually play out, like no matter how much it improves. But I just I think it matters more on the well, what does somebody think it's going to do rather than you and I being correct. All it's going to take is
That's
somebody to decide that that's not true, and that's kind of really all there is to that.
and you have a point, but
Yeah.
like, so then what's the alternative? Someone starts like an AI school, and all of those kids do terrible,
Right.
you know?
Yeah. Well, then the problem is those kids do terrible, and they probably lead a really not great life because of it. All because somebody thought they were smarter than they were. You know.
Yeah,
That's just kind of how things are these days. So. Yeah. Yeah. Remember when I was like mouthwashing's too much of a bummer? Maybe we shouldn't talk about it.
Well, it I like to think that we're shedding a little optimism, because I don't know, even in people I talk to in my like day-to-day life, like a lot of people are like, AI is gonna change everything and kill us all, and I'm like, I really genuinely don't think that's gonna happen myself. Like even the people I know who love AI and like are like, I use it every day, they use it to write email templates. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, that's really changing the world, guys. Yeah, like
Yeah, like, and when I look at it that way, I'm like, that's like hilarious that's like as far as we've genuinely come in changing the world, is people write great email and sometimes resume templates.
Yeah, but they're not even great. That's the worst part. Like I can always tell. Like I listen.
Well, right. Yeah,
I work in an
after
office
the fact.
environment. I know the people who use ChatGPT to write their emails. Not because I've seen them do it. I can tell.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. The one I can think of one guy in particular who I know pretty well. He's like, yeah, I have ChatGPT write a template, and then I like alter it a little bit, and that saved me like a couple minutes of my day. And I don't know, maybe you can tell his, maybe you can't. I'm not sure.
It's the people who rely on it or who are really enamored by it is because they barely understand words. So.
I will say, actually, this is not video game related at all, and now we're just doing tangent life, I guess. But
I mean, all the technology's related though, and the perception of it. You know, like it's all like video game companies are making dumb decisions that are AI based as well. So like, it's not really like it's infected everything. It's kind of hard not to talk about it in anything even vaguely tech related, because most of it comes from the tech bro mindset of all these dumb idiots who have never used any of these products or like anything in the field that they're like a CEO or whatever in, making decisions about what they think people want when they've never enjoyed a video game in their whole life. You know, like what what do you think's gonna happen, guys?
I have a thought and then a story, and I just, my thought is that it's very like weirdly poetic that as you replay the same segment of a game, repeating the past and the future, we're weirdly talking about this weird technological phenomenon that we have all not learned in the past that technology changes some things, but it does not change the fundamental problems at the root of stuff.
Yeah,
It's
and
weirdly
also,
poetic.
I'm playing this game is from the early '90s because it's still good. You know.
Yeah. But I'll tell my AI story, which is so like one of the things that I don't know if this is like me personally or like if a lot of people struggle with it, but like I tend to struggle with sending like successful booking emails, especially to like new places. And I don't know if I'm terrible at writing these emails or if I like if I don't know. I don't my assessment as I've like reevaluated it is that I don't think I'm terrible at writing these emails in the way I think I am, but I can be a little hard on myself sometimes about like I struggle with finding new places to book and whatever. So I was like, you know what? Out of curiosity, let me ask ChatGPT to like write me a booking email and see if like it gives me a great idea or a great template that like I never thought of. And spoiler alert, it really didn't.
Yeah, because it gave you something that sounded like it was written by like a seventh grader who found a thesaurus for the first time in their life.
But I was like, maybe I'll give it a chance. Maybe it will give me some idea of how to write a good email in a way I've never thought of, and it didn't. So that's fine.
Yeah, you can get a response that sounds like that one friend who like always acts like they know everything about everything all the time, but they like kind of don't. And it's sort of just like going to Google and picking a result at random and just trusting it blindly. You know, it's basically what AI is.
Yeah, so I don't think it's gonna.
I did it.
Hopefully, we've injected some optimism. You did it! Oh my god, I'm so.
I
proud
finally
of you.
just realized that my tactic was stupid and I needed to come up with a better one. So
that was like my thought maybe like 25 runs ago, but we were kind of thought.
Well, yeah, we were also in the middle of talking, so like it wasn't time for me to formulate a plan. It was time for me to continue to try and do this while hoping that it would work.
Yeah. Yeah. So
hammer, meat, nail. You know.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe that I guess the long and short of it is like hopefully this will work out poorly for Microsoft, and I do think that it will, and it will cause backlash, and I don't think it's going to actually lead to them making any great games or advancements.
No, they just burned hundreds of billions of dollars, and they're going to pretend that they didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's just.
Yeah, here's the thing. It's desperate when the way that they are reporting revenue for AI is to include things that like technically have AI like tangentially related to them or in a title somewhere, but actually have nothing to do with any of the technologies that people are actually like discussing. Yeah, because it's the only way to make the numbers look anything even remotely feasible to convince people to keep giving them any cash. It's dire, and I think people kind of know that, but they're just hoping that the magic thing will come out of it. They're like, well, certainly if we spend more hundreds of billions of dollars, it will get better.
Yeah, I gotta say, I'm definitely sick of hearing about it. Like, I'm someone who's pretty like interested in technology. Like, I like tech podcasts, and I like seeing like stupid videos that are like, what's the new foldable look like? Like, I don't know. I'm just kind of interested in generally like new kinds of tech and stuff, like reading about it and watching it. But like, I became so sick of hearing about AI at a certain point because it's just like, all right, like. Again, you continue to hear the same thing of like, oh, there's progress, it's getting better, it's going to change everything. There's progress, it's getting better, it's going to change everything. It's like, you know what? I don't know. We've had it for quite a few years, and I feel like it hasn't changed anything in my life except for like make things feel way more bleak and not actually make any progress. I'm real tired of hearing about it.
Yeah,
like,
the only things people are proposing to come out of it is like, well, I don't want that. Like, you just want to like replace people for doing the thing that exclusively people can do. That's not. That's I don't want you to do that. Like that's. I don't care how much money you've spent on it or how good, quote unquote, you think it is. I don't want that. I don't know. It's just not any more complicated than that. But yeah, that's just how out of touch people are, I think.
Yeah, so I definitely like have grown fatigued with hearing about it. So like when Microsoft said this, I was like, really, Microsoft, really? more to my theory that Nintendo's going to be the only company around in 5 years.
I mean, it's not that they'll be the only company around. It's just if you're paying attention, it's going to be the only company worth getting something from. Don't worry, the other companies aren't going anywhere. Microsoft is worth too many billions, and Sony is worth too many billions. Still, they'll be fine.
Microsoft
it'll
is
be
not
really
going
funny when
anywhere.
Microsoft still releases another box that no one buys because there's no reason to do
I
that.
don't know if they will though.
No,
It
I
feels
still
like
think
lately
I still think they're gonna. I don't know for sure that they're gonna, but I still think they're gonna.
it's yeah, they might. But it feels like they're so much less committed to like releasing a box. At least in recent in the last year or so. Like every time I read a headline, it feels like they're less committed to making the box their thing.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I mean, they are also talking about how happy they are to see some of these games come to PlayStation and how they expect to see stuff on the Switch too
The
as
Switch
well.
too.
So
Yeah, right. So I can tell this story on the podcast, even though I think I told you already. I like recently talked a friend out of getting an Xbox because he like saw my Steam Deck and he was like, "Oh, like I was thinking about getting a Steam Deck, but like really what I wanted to do was like upgrade my Xbox cuz I haven't gotten an Xbox in like 15 years." And I was like, "Why would you ever get an Xbox?" And he's like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "Well, all of their games like exist everywhere else, and they just recently announced how excited they are to put their games on Switch too." And he was like, "Oh,
yeah,
yeah, I guess when you put it that way." And I was like, "Yeah, like there's just no reason. Like
well,
I don't know.
and
I'm
they
sure
also
they
had
have
their
some
whole "This is
exclusives."
an Xbox" campaign where it was just like every device that you could use an Xbox cloud streaming platform on. They're like, "This is an Xbox now." Like they're obfuscating their own brand in messaging so much as it is. It's like I don't. It's not going to get better. I
Right.
I don't see this getting better for them. Ooh.
Yeah, right. Like they openly were like, you can play Xbox games on anything, and so it's like, all right, that's that then. Like, why buy the box then if they're like, hey, you don't need to
Yeah,
buy the box,
I'll
you can
be
play
able to
our
get the
games anyway.
exclusives of the other one on the other machine and play your games. The end. It's not
Exactly.
even a question anymore.
Yeah, so
If you told me Nintendo was going to release all their games on PC, I wouldn't buy a Switch 2. Probably.
well, that makes one of them. Though that's a good point though. Like if you could play all your Switch games on the Steam Deck, what functionally is the difference?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that's why they'll have their weird mouse. They'll be like, "Oh, you can use the Joy Cons as a mouse, I guess." And I'm like, I don't care about that. Just give me the new Zelda game. That's all I want.
Yeah, just let me play Age of Calamity at more than like 6 frames per second.
Bro, don't be harshing on my boy Link.
It's not. I'm not harshing on the Link. I'm harshing on the fact that that game runs like it's like the hamster is doing the calculations by hand.
I don't even care about that game, so it's like hilarious that I would try and
That's
be
what I
offended
mean.
about
It's just
that
like
one in particular.
It's like yeah, Annie's favorite game, a Musou game by Koei Tecmo. That happens to be
harshing
Zelda
on my
branded.
boy Link, all right? Link is in that game, so don't be harshing on my boy.
Darn it. Oh. All right, anyway. You know what would be really funny is if somebody's not watching this and they just think that I'm reacting to nothing whatsoever. It's just audio only type listeners.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't even know if the sound's working because I never actually checked the stream, so I just relied on you. So hopefully we haven't just been doing this. Oh, okay, cool. Nice. Everything's great. Nothing bad happened. I did it first try. It's the new tech.
Yeah, you know what's funny is like it takes me like 30 runs of your attempt for me to even figure out what the challenge is.
I keep not reading and I just keep going and going like, oh, what's in the corner? Okay, I gotta get the rings. Got it. Yeah, the rings. Okay.
Yeah, like you just go and then I'm like, I assume the challenge is to get somewhere fast, and then 30 runs later I'm like, oh, that's what he's supposed to do.
Sugar.
Well,
anyway.
We should probably wrap this up soon for two reasons. A, I have to pee really bad, and B,
oh my god,
I
have
to
do
do
this?
I have to do some chores for my wife because we're gonna be painting a room soon. So
oh yeah. No.
for Malekith, the Black Blade of Death, which is what we're gonna name our son.
Smart. First words in that
Oh, wait,
at that octave.
the noise canceling cut you out.
Oh,
Say
did it
again.
really?
Yes.
Oh, I did the oh deaths become my blade once more, but we're like really deep. Oh well. Well,
Oh man. This was fun though. I'm
isn't this a
enjoying
pleasant
like
sound?
doing. Yeah, it sounds amazing. I'm enjoying this topic episode like format. Like I mean, just talking about some topics. I really want to talk about like in a future one, like what the future of like Zelda games are going to be or something like that. That's one
Yeah,
we talked about
I
a
think
long
we've
time ago.
openly talked about that on the show a long time ago at this point too. And this is
Did
it's
we?
a yeah. You know, here's the thing. This is I mean, it's been more than a year because I think the first episode was when because you were physically here, and that would have been like last winter. So we've been doing it a year. I guess we could change it up if this is the first this is season 2, baby. We hit episode
Has it?
11, season 2.
Oh my god, it has been. Oh my god, I didn't realize it's been well over a
Yeah,
year.
doesn't that make you want to? No, I won't say anything that dark. That's not what this podcast is about.
Wow. It's wow. The crazy part is, I mean, you and I have talked a lot about like my personal life and like my job situation and stuff and it just feels like the last year has been like 10 years. So when you say that, I can think so vividly back to November when I was visiting you and like just
Yeah,
what a
dude.
I just I can't believe how much my like life has changed in the last year. It feels like many, many years.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. The time hole that began at COVID, it's still happening, whether you know it or not.
Yeah.
All those dominoes, they're still falling.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
Well,
dude, that's where we're at. So yeah,
well,
thanks everyone for bearing with us in this completely like literally at the last second, like right before I was about to click the button, like, are we gonna do mouth washing or like are we just I was having troubles getting OBS to stream it. I was just like, I don't want to deal with this. Maybe we should do something different. And then we just
but
did. That was it.
I'll say this, like I think for me this is kind of like a bit of a place where like I envisioned the show to be because like when we call each other or we hang out together, we end up just having these conversations for hours long at a time. And for me, I was like, I feel like if people are interested in video games a little bit, they may be interested in these conversations. So I think this format like is a good format for us to do in like not always, but I think it's a good format to bounce back between if we have stuff to talk about.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, we were basically doing the book club thing before, right? And I think that was fine. But as we were, or as I mentioned before, with like what the scope was for Elden Ring and the concept of me somehow replaying that game like yet again, it's like, you know what, man, I have already put over 900 hours in the game. I don't know if I have a whole other playthrough in me just for the sake of a DLC episode. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Um,
Yeah.
but I mean, I still think we should. I mean, we talked about it a little bit today. If we still wanted to talk about it, I think even without an additional playthrough, like you've been playing it enough, and I have played those games enough at this point where we could certainly still have a lengthy discussion just about that game. You know, so yeah, we can
Yeah.
make this a little bit more free form.
Yeah,
Hopefully,
I do
me
want to do
continuing to stream a game and talk at the same time also continues to work because it'll depend on my attention span and ability to speak and do it at the same time because I struggle with that. I know I do. So
yeah. Well, and I think there are specific games like I really do want to do Final Fantasy 7 at some point cuz I'm interested in it and I'm also interested in like talking about it. So I think
I want to
like
talk about it with you and the remakes so badly on some level,
yeah.
to some degree. I don't know exactly where your interest may or may not fall off in there, but like I would love to get at least to have some discussion of remake with you, whether it's for this show or not. But I mean, I think it'd be an awesome topic for the show. So
Yeah, I think so too, especially just cuz again, like I'm interested in like video game history and I think if anyone is interested in Final Fantasy or how important those games have been, it's an interesting topic.
yeah, and it's not like we'd be doing anything brand new. It's not like people haven't talked about that game franchise or like the difference between the remake and stuff. But I think we have a unique situation where like I played 7 not like as it came out growing up, but like not long after it came out growing up. So I have some amount of nostalgia for it. Always thought it was still kind of overrated, but still very good. It just wasn't even my favorite of the PS1 era Final Fantasies. 9 is still my favorite from those. But 7's still an awesome game. And I had the nostalgia pings hit me when the remake finally did get announced after, like literally more than a decade of rumors about it that were untrue, finally like somehow actually becoming real. And now I'm playing the second of 3 games of a Final Fantasy VII remake. And I'm like, I have a lot of thoughts on all that. And you have never played any of it.
That is right. That is correct.
And you don't even like know like much about like the Final Fantasy VII world or story beats or anything like that, which is also remarkable.
I feel like I may see. I don't even remember that well though, so I'm not going to try and remember. But I feel like the big thing that happens may have been spoiled. I don't remember specifically what it is though. So
Yeah, well, here's the thing. We'll get there eventually. That's
yeah,
basically I think all there is to that. But yeah, like that is unique. Like I don't know how you are in the year. Like it's that game turns 30 in 2 years.
that's crazy.
So the
Yeah.
fact you've made it this far without knowing maybe the biggest spoiler in all of video games, like the most famous one, is like, wow, good job.
I have heard it once, but I tried very specifically to like not remember it so that it won't be fully spoiled. So I may have a notion, but
Yeah. Either way. Yeah. So yeah,
yeah.
there's a little inside baseball for you guys on what we're thinking about doing.
Yeah. Well, with that, thanks for watching and we'll see you in the next one.
Yeah. Bye everyone.